Commander Vrix-Thol peered through the sterilized viewing port of the ISV Dominion. He wasn't supposed to be here. Actually, nobody was supposed to be here. This sector of space had been marked as a forbidden zone by the Galactic Council for the past 12 centuries. Sir, chirped his tactical officer, Carrick. We are detecting an unknown vessel on long-range sensors. It's primitive. Primitive? In this dead zone? Vrix-Thol's 4 eyes narrowed simultaneously. Define primitive, officer. Their propulsion system appears to be chemical-based, and they're using electromagnetic radiation for communication. Sir, they're basically broadcasting their location to every predator within 50 light years. The bridge fell silent. Every species in the known galaxy had learned the hard way. Advertising your position in space was like painting a target on your vessel. It was astronomical stupidity. Analysis of their ship's composition. Vrix-Thol demanded. Carrick's scales rippled with amusement. Ferrous alloys, silicon composites, and... Wait, are they actually using nuclear reactors for power generation? In space? Without proper containment? They must have a death wish. Vrix-Thol activated his personal translator and adjusted its frequency to match the aliens' primitive communications. Static filled the bridge, then voices emerged. Houston, this is Explorer 7. Systems nominal. We have reached the edge of the Kuiper Belt. No sign of extraterrestrial. Houston here, Explorer 7. Maintain radio silence after this transmission. We don't know what's out there. Copy that, Houston. Radio silence commencing in 3, 2. Vrix-Thol's scales stiffened. They just turned off their communications after warning each other about unknown presences in space. He turned to his science officer. Kreen, scan their homeworld. I need to understand what kind of species produces such contradictory behavior. The science station hummed as Kreen initiated deep space scanning. Minutes crawled by before she spoke. Commander, you need to see this. The main view screen flickered to life, displaying a blue-green planet. Vrix-Thol gasped. Is that water? On the surface. 70% of the planetary surface, sir. In the atmospheric composition, oxygen levels at 21%. That's toxic to most species. The gravity? Vrix-Thol asked, dreading the answer. 9.8 meters per second squared. They live in gravity wells we use for pilot training. The bridge crew exchanged nervous glances. High-gravity worlds were designated as Class-12 Deathworlds by the Council. Only the most hardened warrior species attempted missions to such planets, and few returned. Life readings? Vrix-Thol's voice was barely a whisper. Kreen's manipulative appendages trembled. Millions of species. Thousands of apex predators. The biodiversity is impossible. Land predators with 2,000 newtons of bite force. Aquatic life forms larger than our entire vessel. Microscopic organisms that dissolve metal. And those are just the beginning. Show me the sapiens. The screen zoomed in, revealing hairless bipeds moving through massive concrete and steel structures. They call themselves humans. Bipedal, upright posture, binocular vision. They have cities with millions of inhabitants. And sir, Kreen paused, checking her readings twice. They have thermonuclear weapons. Thousands of them, pointed at their own planet. Vrix-Thol felt his inner organs chill. They aim weapons of planetary destruction at themselves. That's not the concerning part, sir. They have only used them twice. In anger, on their own species. The bridge fell silent again. Such insanity was incomprehensible. No rational species would survive infancy with such self-destructive tendencies. Continue monitoring. I need to understand, sir. Carrick's scanner alarm wailed. The human vessel, it's changing course. Directly toward us. Impossible. We are cloaked. Our technology is... They are broadcasting, sir. On all frequencies. Unidentified vessel. We know you are there. We have been tracking your gravitational displacement wake for the past 20 minutes. Please respond. We come in peace. Vrix-Thol's 4 hearts skipped several beats. They detected gravitational displacement wake? That required technology his civilization had only developed 3 centuries ago. Carrick, run a battle simulation. If that human vessel attacks, can we survive? Sir, their ship is barely a kilometer long. Our vessel is 50 times larger. Their weapons appear limited to guided missiles with nuclear warheads. Our shields can withstand. What class Deathworld did you say they were from? Vrix-Thol interrupted. Class 12, sir. But they are primitives. We have nothing to. I studied xenobiology before command training, officer. Let me educate you all. Vrix-Thol's voice carried the weight of grim experience. Every soldier in our military trains under 2G acceleration for extreme conditions. These humans live in 1G naturally. Every child born on their planet is essentially military trained by our standards just by virtue of existing. Their oceans? We use suits to survive in pressures they call scuba diving. Their bacteria? Strains we can only study in biocontainment labs are everyday infections they fight with chemicals they call antiseptics. And their primitive projectile weapons? The kinetic energy from their propulsion systems still relies on controlled explosions. Explosions. Every bullet is a miniature bomb. The crew shifted uncomfortably. But Sir, Carrick protested weakly. Surely our advanced technology gives us the advantage. Technology? Vrix-Thol laughed bitterly. They have reached space while splitting their atoms for power. They have developed digital computing before solving their global political conflicts. They are either too stupid to be afraid of anything, or they're the most dangerous species in the galaxy. The human transmission continued. We have detected 15 similar displacement signatures in this sector over the past hour. If you're engaged in tactical maneuvers, we don't want any trouble. We are scientists, not warriors. Not warriors. Vrix-Thol accessed the ship's defense protocols. Analysis says they have been in continuous conflict somewhere on their planet for the last 5,000 years. They have weaponized everything from sharp sticks to antimatter containment. They have turned science itself into a weapon. The human ship drew closer. Through the enhanced viewers, Vrix-Thol could see details that made his scales crawl. No smooth curves or ergonomic designs. Just brutal, functional angles and barely contained power systems. It looked like someone had strapped a habitat module to an engine and called it a spaceship. Sir, Crean reported, I'm detecting something unusual about their crew. Based on heat signatures and metabolic rates, they have different subspecies aboard the same vessel. Explain. Males and females, yes, but also different pigmentation levels, different bone densities, different muscle compositions. They are not genetically optimized clones like proper space crews. Vrix-Thol's training kicked in. Of course, genetic diversity, another adaptation for survival on a death world. They maintain genetic variation for adaptability rather than optimization for specific tasks. Another transmission. Big spaceship with 4 engine signatures visible from here. We are really trying to be friendly. We have thrown pretty much everything at this peace thing. We are broadcasting mathematical constants, prime numbers, pictures of what we look like, and even diagrams of our reproductive organs. Though if you're looking at those, please remember we were very tired when we drew them. Vrix-Thol froze. They are. Joking? Under these circumstances? It appears to be a coping mechanism, Sir, Crean reported. My analysis of their communications shows frequent use of humor, even in dire situations. They seem to process fear through mockery of the fear itself. The human ship was now within weapon range. Vrix-Thol had to make a decision. Protocol demanded reporting to the Council, but that would take weeks. These humans had already detected a ship, which meant they detected the Council scout ships in the area too. Open a channel. Full translation protocols. The view screen blinked to life, revealing 5 humans in a cramped command section. They were wearing matching blue garments covered in what looked like random symbols and numbers. Greetings, said the central human. A female with dark skin and graying hair gathered at the nape of her neck. Captain Diane Williams of the United Earth Vessel Explorer 7. We weren't expecting company out here. Actually, we weren't expecting anybody, anywhere. The universe is a big place, and we have been feeling pretty alone. Until now. Vrix-Thol found his voice. I am Commander Vrix-Thol of the Athraxian Star Navy. How did you detect our cloaking field? Williams grinned, displaying her race's predatory teeth. Cloak? Oh, that gravity thing? Yeah. See, our Einstein figured out this neat trick about mass and spacetime. You can't really hide from gravity wells. It's like physics 101 back home. Besides, your ship's the size of a small moon. Did you really think nobody would notice? Your people solved gravitational detection with primitive mathematics. Math isn't primitive, Commander. Math is math. 2 plus 2 equals for whether you're on Earth or the Andromeda Galaxy. Though I hear there's this dimension where it equals 5, but we try not to talk about that. Makes the physicists nervous. Vrix-Thol's military training fought with scientific curiosity. Your species, you survived to space travel despite your planetary classification. Classification? Oh, you mean the death trap we call home? Yeah. Turns out when everything's trying to kill you, you get really good at staying alive. We've got about 30 different ways to die, just from local bacteria. Australia alone could depopulate a lesser species in a weekend. But we figured it out. Trial and error. Mostly error. Lots of error. You seem remarkably calm about our encounter. William shrugged. Look, Commander, we have spent the last 50 years scanning space and hearing nothing but our own radio signals bouncing back. Part of us thought we might be alone in the universe. Part of us was afraid of what we might find. But we are here now, and you are here now, and we have both survived long enough to have this conversation. That's got to count for something, right? Behind Williams, another human, male, pale complexion, wearing glasses that served no apparent combat purpose, leaned forward. Captain, there are 14 more ships decloaking around us. Well, that's exciting, Williams said, her expression not changing. I'm guessing they are with you, Commander. Vrix-Thol felt his career dissolving before his compound eyes. The Council would have his fourth heart for breakfast over this protocol breach. Captain Williams, I must warn you. First contact protocols prohibit any species below a type 4 civilization from joining the Galactic Council. Your species would need to demonstrate faster-than-light travel, unified planetary government, and proper xenobiological adaptations. Williams nodded slowly. And we don't have any of those things, do we? No FTL. Earth is still a political mess, and we are basically held together by duct tape and stubborn determination. No offense intended, but your species represents multiple potential existential threats to established galactic civilization. None taken. We represent multiple existential threats to ourselves, too. It's kind of our thing. She paused. So what happens now? Standard procedure would be to restrict you to your solar system, monitor your progress for several thousand years, and potentially initiate formal contact once you have developed sufficiently. That seems reasonable. But we have already made contact, and we have detected your other ships. And we know you know we know, and we know you know we know you know. It's getting a bit recursive, isn't it? Vrix-Thol processed this through his translator 3 times to ensure accuracy. You are suggesting we have moved beyond protocols? I'm suggesting that protocols are neat on paper, but reality has a way of messing with the blueprints. We have got a situation here, Commander. You could try to stuff this particular cat back in a bag, but cats are notoriously uncooperative. Ask our internet. It's basically 60% cat videos. I am uncertain of your meaning. What I mean is we have met. We have talked. Your ships have been detected. You can either spend the next 1,000 years pretending this conversation never happened while knowing it did, or we can figure out what comes next. The other human ships were now positioning themselves in what Vrix-Thol recognized as a defensive formation. But their shields remained down, weapons unpowered. It was a stance that said we are ready, but not aggressive. Military doctrine said he should immediately report to the Council, maintain diplomatic distance, and follow established protocols. Common sense, however, whispered that protocols developed in laboratories might not survive contact with a species that thrived on a death world through sheer adaptability. Captain Williams, he said slowly, hypothetically speaking, if contact had been officially established, what would your intentions be? She smiled. Not the predatory grin from before, but something warmer. You know what we have learned from exploring our own planet? The best things come from unexpected meetings. We have found incredible allies in the most surprising places. Sometimes the species that seems most dangerous turns out to be the most cooperative when you approach with respect instead of fear. And if cooperation fails, then we deal with that when it happens. But we have survived by preparing for the worst while hoping for the best. It's gotten us this far. Around them, the other human vessels maintain their position. No aggressive moves, but clearly ready to respond to any threat. Vrix-Thol admired the tactical soundness of their stance. Simple, but effective. I need to consult with my superiors, he said finally. Of course. We will be right here, floating in space, contemplating our place in the universe and whether we left the coffee maker on back home. Take your time. Vrix-Thol cut the transmission and turned to his crew. 15 pairs of eyes, including his own 4, stared back at him. The weight of decision pressed down harder than any Deathworld gravity. Sir, Carrick ventured. If we report this contact officially, the Council will initiate containment protocols. They will quarantine the human system and assign monitors for the next 1,000 years. And if we don't report it, we'd be violating every first contact regulation in Council space. Career-ending at minimum. Possibly tribunal-worthy. Vrix-Thol moved to the navigation station and called up star charts. The human solar system sat at the edge of Council space, far from major trade routes and military corridors. If containment protocols were implemented, it would require constant monitoring and resource allocation for centuries. Crean, analysis of human developmental trajectory. If isolated for 1,000 years, what's the probability they will achieve the required technological milestones? The science officer ran calculations. Extremely high, sir. Their rate of technological advancement is unprecedented. They have gone from surface-bound to space-capable in less than a century. With their current trajectory, they will develop FTL theory within 50 years, implement it within 200. Isolation would only delay the inevitable. In a unified government, that's harder to predict. Their political structure is chaotic, but when faced with external challenges, they demonstrate remarkable unity. Their own history is filled with examples of competing factions uniting against common threats. So we're looking at a civilization that will eventually join galactic society, whether in 100 years or 1,000. Correct, sir. Vrix-Thol's 4th heart raced, and during those centuries of quarantine, they will know they are being watched by species with superior technology who refuse to share it. Species who met them and then imposed isolation on them. How do you think that will affect their view of galactic civilization when they finally achieve full membership? The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. Open the channel again. Williams reappeared, looking remarkably patient for someone whose species had just met another intelligence for the first time in their existence. Captain Williams, I have consulted with my officers. We have a situation. Situations are kind of our specialty, Commander. What do we have? Official policy requires we maintain distance and monitor your species for the next several centuries. Unofficially, my crew and I believe this is short-sighted and potentially counterproductive. Williams raised an eyebrow. Go on. We propose an arrangement. Limited contact within certain parameters. Knowledge exchange at a controlled pace. Cultural understanding before technological advances. A foundation for future official relations when your species reaches the required benchmarks. That sounds dangerously reasonable, Commander. Also possibly career-ending for you if your superiors find out. Agreed, which is why this conversation would need to remain unofficial. A pilot program, if you will. We're good at pilot programs. NASA runs on them. What would this entail? Regular but infrequent meetings. Exchange of information that won't disrupt your natural development. Guidelines to prevent cultural contamination while fostering mutual understanding. And most importantly, discretion. Williams consulted briefly with her crew. After a few minutes of rapid-fire discussion in what his translator identified as military jargon mixed with scientific terminology and coffee deprivation, she turned back. Commander, we accept your proposal. On one condition, which is, when our species finally gets full membership in your club, you let us throw the party. We make terrible coffee, but excellent cake. Despite himself, despite protocols, despite thousands of years of military conditioning that warned against fraternizing with potential threats, Vrix-Thol found himself laughing. The sound echoed across the bridge, mixing with nervous chuckles from his crew. Agreed, Captain Williams. But fair warning, our species has refined metabolism. Your human sugar might affect us differently than expected. Commander, if sugar is our most dangerous weapon, I think we are all going to get along just fine. And so began what historians would later call the most egregious violation of first contact protocols in Council history, and simultaneously, the most successful unofficial diplomatic relationship in galactic politics. Neither side knew it yet, but they had initiated what would become known as the Human Exception Doctrine, the precedent that would reshape galactic civilization's approach to first contact with species that developed under extreme survival pressure. The meeting ended with coordinates for the next rendezvous, carefully chosen to avoid detection by Council patrols. As the human ship turned toward home, Vrix-Thol wondered if he'd just committed the best mistake of his career or the best decision of his life. Only time would tell. But then again, time has a way of being kind to bold choices, especially when they are made in the spirit of mutual understanding rather than fear. The stars wheeled on, indifferent to the small drama unfolding beneath them. But in a universe where the strong often prey upon the weak, two species had chosen cooperation over competition, understanding over assumption, and hope over fear. To IT was a choice that would reshape the galaxy. Though at that moment, none of them knew it. They were too busy making history one unofficial conversation at a time. 3 months later, Vrix-Thol stood again before the viewport, but this time he wasn't watching in secret. This time, he had permission to be here. Sort of. Sir, Carrick announced, the human delegation has arrived. They are requesting permission to board. Permission to board. They'd actually learned proper military etiquette since their last meeting. Vrix-Thol straightened his ceremonial armor, the one reserved for official diplomatic functions. Of course, this wasn't official. Nothing about their relationship was official. But the humans seemed to appreciate formality when the situation warranted it. "Welcome aboard, Captain Williams," he said as she floated through the airlock, followed by 5 crew members including the bespectacled scientists from their first meeting. "Commander Vrix-Thol," Williams replied, attempting what looked like a salute. Her arm bent at the wrong angle, palm facing outward. "Did I do that right?" "Close enough," Vrix-Thol assured her. "The gesture is understood, if not precisely executed." Williams grinned. "Story of our lives. We muddle through, somehow making it work." Her crew carried sealed containers, significantly more sophisticated than their first vessel's equipment. In 3 months, they'd upgraded their technology noticeably. Not surprising for a species that viewed challenge as opportunity. "What have you brought this time?" Vrix-Thol asked. "Well, we have got coffee. Proper coffee this time. Not that powder horror we served last time. Some Earth food samples for cultural exchange." And Williams patted the largest container, something special we have been working on. They moved to the informal conference room Vrix-Thol had designated for their meetings. Standard protocol would have used the diplomatic suite, but their arrangement required maintaining the fiction that these were casual, accidental encounters between curious species. So, Williams began once everyone was seated, humans on specially designed chairs that accommodated their inflexible spinal columns. "We have had some interesting developments back home." "Oh, news about our unauthorized first contact leaked. Took all of 2 weeks before conspiracy theorists had us all figured out. The government had to release an official statement." Vrix-Thol felt his scales paling. "They revealed our existence." "God, no. They denied everything. Said we encountered some space debris that looked like alien ships. Classified it all under Project Swamp Gas. Works every time." Williams winked. "But the scientific community is another story. We have had to be careful about which patents we file." "Patents? Intellectual property rights. We may be primitive, but we are very particular about who gets credit for what. Speaking of which," she nodded to the bespectacled scientist, "Dr. Robert Martinez has something to show you." Dr. Martinez activated a holographic projector, far too advanced for Earth's stated technology level. A complex molecular structure appeared above the table. "We have been studying your report on quark matter stabilization," Martinez explained. "Fascinating stuff. We don't have containment fields like yours, but we found a workaround. The molecule rotated, highlighting specific bonds. We are using electromagnetic resonance to create artificial stability. Much less efficient than your method, but it works with our current technology. We have already been able to increase power output by 30% without exotic materials." Vrix-Thol examined the structure more closely. "This is ingenious. You have essentially created a bridge technology using principles of physics we both understand to compensate for technological disparity." "That's the human way," Williams chimed in. "If the door is locked, we don't wait for the key. We climb through the window, pick the lock, or sometimes just knock really, really hard until something gives. Captain, I must express some concern. Your species' adaptability is impressive, but it borders on chaos. Chaos is just order waiting for the right pattern to emerge. We have learned that progress often comes from happy accidents and desperate measures. Did you know we discovered the first antibiotic because someone forgot to clean their laboratory dishes? Penicillin, one of our greatest medical breakthroughs, came from a mistake. Vrix-Thol's translator processed several cultural references embedded in that statement. The humans didn't just adapt. They weaponized serendipity itself. What troubles me, he admitted, is that your species seems incapable of peaceful development. Your entire evolutionary path is driven by survival pressure. Will you eventually view galactic civilization as just another environment to dominate? Williams leaned back, her expression serious. That's a fair question. We have asked it ourselves. Many times. She paused, choosing words carefully. Here's what we have learned about humanity, Commander. We are competitive, yes. We have fought wars over everything from ideology to imaginary lines on maps. But we are also capable of incredible cooperation when we recognize we are part of something larger than ourselves. When we first saw Earth from space, the overview effect changed everything for our astronauts. National boundaries disappeared. Conflicts seemed petty. We realized we are all on this one fragile planet together. Meeting all of you out here, it's the same effect but bigger. We're not just Earthlings anymore. We are galactic neighbors. And good neighbors bring casseroles when you move in. She gestured to the containers again. Speaking of which, we brought actual casserole. Well, the closest thing we could make in 0G. And some other peace offerings. The next hour involved various experiments with human and Ithraxian food compatibility. Most ended poorly. The humans were polite about the synthylene paste that Vrix-Thol's people considered a delicacy. The Ithraxians were less successful hiding their reactions to what the humans called extra spicy salsa. I think my taste buds are filing for asylum. Carrick wheezed, his scales rippling with what might have been laughter or digestive distress. Consider it biological warfare training, Williams suggested. We have been building chemical resistance since the first human ate a hot pepper and thought, I should do that again. After the food exchange, they moved to more serious matters. Williams pulled out a data crystal. We have been analyzing patterns in what you have taught us. Your species values predictability in allies, stability in governments, and clear hierarchical structures in society. Correct. Well, I have both good news and bad news. The bad news is we are none of those things. We are chaotic, argumentative, and our governments change faster than fashion trends. The good news is we are aware of it, and we have developed coping mechanisms. She activated the crystal. Psychosocial adaptability metrics. We have been documenting our own species' behavioral patterns, how we handle stress, adapt to new information, process cultural shifts. We are not stable, but we are incredibly flexible. Like bamboo in a storm. Dr. Martinez added, we have also been working on a proposal for phased cultural integration. Small steps that respect your protocols while acknowledging our, unique situation. The hologram shifted to show a timeline. Stage 1, information exchange, which we're doing now. Stage 2, remote technological collaboration on problems that benefit both species. Stage 3, limited diplomatic presence, maybe a cultural attaché or two. Stage 4, official introduction to the broader galactic community when we meet the technological benchmarks. You have been planning this. Of course we have, Williams confirmed. Hope for the best, plan for the best. We learned that strategy from watching every disaster movie ever made. The people who survive are the ones who think ahead. Vrix-Thol considered the proposal. It was reasonable, measured, and surprisingly well thought out for a species the Council considered barely more advanced than evolved primates. I must confess something, he said slowly. You are not the first Deathworld species we have encountered, but you're the most cooperative. The others either rejected contact entirely, insisting on isolation, or immediately attempted to reverse engineer our technology for military advantage. Which others? The Korth from Sigma Draconis, a metal-rich world with silicon-based life. They achieved spaceflight, sent attack drones to every civilization that tried to contact them. Williams nodded. Isolation through aggression. We have countries that try that strategy. It never ends well. The Vrec of Zeta Reticuli adapted to high-pressure underwater environments. They viewed all air-breathing life as inferior, tried to assert dominance through technological theft. Superiority complex. We have fraternities that act the same way. Eventually, they realize there's more to life than alpha displays. And the Chutan, whose solar system suffered regular asteroid impacts, they survived by developing defensive technology far beyond their other sciences. They attempted to acquire our weapons systems without going through proper channels. Fear-based hoarding, Williams diagnosed. We see in individuals who survive traumas. The difference is we have therapists and each other. Dr. Martinez spoke up. If I may, Commander, you catalog species by how they react to first contact. Fight, flight, or deceive. But we have chosen a fourth option, collaborate. Why is that so unusual? Because Vrix-Thol explained, survival on a death world typically reinforces certain behavioral patterns. Fight or flight responses become ingrained. Paranoia becomes advantageous. Trust becomes a luxury species can't afford. That's where you are wrong, Williams countered. Trust isn't a luxury for us. It's a survival tool. Our ancestors didn't survive predators by running away or fighting alone. They survived by working together, by communicating, by teaching their knowledge to the next generation. We built civilizations on cooperation, not competition. She stood, moving to the window to look out at the stars. Do you know how many impossible things had to happen for us to be here, having this conversation? The odds of life arising on Earth. The odds of that life becoming intelligent. The odds of surviving every near-extinction event our planet threw at us. The odds of you passing by at the exact moment we reach for the stars. Some of my people would call that fate. Others would call it dumb luck. I think it's both. But I also think that when the universe gives you a 1,000,000,000 to 1 shot at something amazing, you should probably take it. There was silence after that. The kind of silence that fills conversation when big truths are acknowledged. Finally, Vrix-Thol spoke. I have a confession. Our next scheduled patrol puts us near council space. I will need to make a decision about reporting our contact. Williams turned. You have been struggling with this. Yes. On one hand, I have a duty to my species and the council. On the other hand, I believe in what we are doing here. Your species represents something unique. Not just survivors of a death world, but survivors who remained optimistic enough to reach for the stars with open hands instead of clenched fists. What are you leaning toward? Vrix-Thol's scales rippled with a deep color change, indicating strong emotion. I'm leaning toward a third option. The human exception doctrine, as my science officer has been calling it. Exception to what? To everything. Your species doesn't fit any established xenological model. You have survived a Class-12 Deathworld without becoming hardened predators. You have achieved spaceflight without unified governance. You have met another species and immediately began adapting your behavior for mutual benefit. You are exceptions to every rule we have developed about first contact. William sat back down. So what does that mean? It means we take our case to the council directly. No hiding, no Unofficial Arrangement. We present the full data on human contact, your exceptional developmental trajectory, and our assessment that standard protocols inadequately address your unique circumstances. And if they say no, then we have learned something important about the capacity for change in galactic civilization itself. Over the next several hours, they hammered out details. The humans would need to prepare a case for why their exceptional status warranted exceptional treatment. The Athraxians would need to compile all data from their meetings, demonstrating consistent cooperation and cultural compatibility. I have updated our proposal, Dr. Martinez announced, pulling up a new hologram. Instead of asking for exemption from the requirements, we are proposing an accelerated path. Intensive cooperation that lets us meet technological benchmarks faster while maintaining cultural integrity. Like a crash course in galactic citizenship. With homework, Williams added. So much homework. We are very good at homework. Ask any student who's ever taken differential calculus after pulling an all-nighter on energy drinks and panic. Vrix-Thol found himself appreciating the human capacity for self-deprecating humor. It suggested emotional regulation that complemented their adaptability. There's one more thing, Williams said. Win or lose, we want to propose a gift to the council. A gift? Williams opened the largest container. Inside sat a golden disc, etched with intricate diagrams and patterns. The Voyager Golden Record. We launched 2 of these into space in 1977, hoping that someday, somewhere, someone might find them. They contain sounds and images depicting Earth's diversity. A message in a bottle cast into the cosmic ocean. She held the disc up to the light. We'd like to present a new version. One that includes your species, this meeting, this moment. A document of first contact from both perspectives. A gift to whoever replaces old thinking with new possibilities. Vrix-Thol was moved. You would commemorate our meeting, even knowing the council might reject your proposal. Especially knowing that, Williams confirmed. Success isn't just about outcomes. It's about trying, learning, and leaving things better than you found them. If nothing else, we have proven that dialogue between our species is possible. That's worth documenting. The meeting wound down with logistics for their council presentation. Teams would work together to compile evidence, testimonials, and technical data. Most importantly, they would craft a narrative that positioned human exceptionalism not as a threat, but as an asset to galactic civilization. As the humans prepared to depart, Williams paused at the airlock. "Commander, can I ask you something personal?" "Of course. When you first saw we were from a Class-12 Deathworld, were you afraid of us?" Vrix-Thol considered the question carefully. "Afraid? No. Concerned? Yes. All species from Class-12 worlds are concerning. But fear." He made a gesture his translator identified as contemplative pause. "Fear would imply helplessness. I may be many things, Captain Williams, but I am not helpless. Neither are you." She smiled. "You know what I like about you, Commander? You see threat assessment as a math problem, not a prejudice. We have monsters on Earth. They are generally human. And the only consistent trait among monsters is that they don't see other beings as people. And you see us as people. As much as anyone I have never met before can be. Getting to know someone is a process. We are just at the beginning." With that, the human delegation departed, leaving Vrix-Thol with much to think about. His decision was made. Now came the hard part, convincing the rest of the galaxy that sometimes exceptions to the rules are exactly what the rules need. 6 weeks later, Council Station Alpha bustled with representatives from 73 species. The chamber for exceptional hearings had been activated for the first time in 4 centuries. Vrix-Thol stood at the petitioner's podium, his scales steady despite the magnitude of the moment. The Archon of Protocols, a being of pure energy contained within geometric forms, addressed him formally. "Commander Vrix-Thol, you petition for exceptional status regarding first contact with a pre-development species. What exceptional circumstances warrant deviation from established protocols?" Vrix-Thol activated his presentation. "I present the case for human exception doctrine based on 3 unprecedented factors: survival methodology, developmental trajectory, and cooperative potential." The evidence unfolded. Recordings of human problem-solving, technological creativity, and most importantly, their reactions to otherness. The Council watched silently as humans worked through xenobiological puzzles, adapted to alien concepts, and consistently chose communication over confrontation. Standard protocol assumes Deathworld survivors will be aggressive, paranoid, or isolationist. The human species has demonstrated none of these traits despite enduring conditions that would break most civilizations. They have thrived not by becoming predators, but by becoming the galaxy's most unlikely social innovators. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. The concept challenged fundamental assumptions about Deathworld psychology. Williams appeared via holographic link. "Honored Council members, we understand the risks of accelerated contact. We also understand the opportunity. Every species here once faced the unknown. You created protocols to manage that fear. We ask not to bypass your wisdom, but to expand it. Let us prove that adaptation can flow both ways." The debate lasted for 3 council rotations. Arguments flowed about precedent, risk management, and the nature of civilization itself. Some species cited their own difficult first contacts. Others warned about unintended consequences. Finally, the Archon called for judgment. This council recognizes that protocols serve civilization best when they can evolve. We therefore establish a provisional framework, human exception status, under the following conditions: biannual progress reviews, technological parity milestones, and cultural integration benchmarks. The Athraxian delegation will serve as primary liaison, with full council oversight. Additionally, all species who underwent non-standard first contact protocols will contribute to refining these exceptions. Perhaps, as predicted, adaptation flows both ways. When the verdict came through, both crews were waiting on their respective ships. Celebratory chaos erupted on both vessels, though in predictably different ways. The Athraxians performed the ritual of scale harmony, their colors shifting in synchronized patterns. The humans broke out what they called the emergency champagne, resulting in floating bubbles that made the following hours interesting for everyone. To cosmic neighbors, Williams toasted, her glass floating at odd angles in microgravity. To new beginnings, Vrix-Thol replied, lifting his nutrient cylinder. As they celebrated, neither species knew that their unusual partnership would herald a golden age of diplomatic flexibility in galactic relations. Nor did they know that within a century, humans would mediate 3 major trade conflicts using their unique perspective on conflict resolution. But perhaps that's the real gift of meeting alien intelligence. The reminder that the universe is too big for absolute certainty and too full of possibilities for rigid thinking. Years later, a museum on Earth displayed 2 artifacts side by side. The original Voyager Golden Record and its successor, the Unity Disk, containing messages from 2 species, who chose cooperation over caution. Visitors often noted the dedication. To all species who dare to reach across the cosmic void, may you find not just intelligence, but intelligence worth knowing.